Visions here. I promised a Windwalker guide for 7.1, and I just decided to get it out before New Year's Day, so here it is. The guide's going to be separated into three parts: your damage and CC, your talents, and your artifact. We're going to start with your artifact, actually. So, for your artifact, you have two general paths. You're obviously going to want all of them, except maybe, Death Art, but that's beside the point. You have the choice to go with the Crosswinds and Healing Winds path. This is a decent path. You get more damage for spinning Crane Kick, which is a good, filler ability. It does pretty good damage as well. And you generally want to get this gold trait as fast as possible if you're looking for easy games, easy wins, easy damage. So you have the choice of going into about 300k more damage per fist and a 20% heal every time you use Transcendence, along with your Fist of Fury stacks, which stack up to 10 times, 3% each stack, 30% overall damage increase. Good path, your choice. And then you also have the path of Gale Burst. This is more of a, in my opinion, it's kind of a dampener spec. You get traits like Dodge Chance by, I believe, 9% or something, or 10% I should say. Then you get your Gale Burst, which is everything you do while Touch of Death is on target is increased by 10%. So all damage that you did during Touch of Death will be added on by 10% of that damage. So you have the baseline 10% Touch of Death, and let's say that you only did 500k damage during Touch of Death on that target. You would take 10% of that 500k and add it to the 10%, so you'd be doing, what is it, 550k, give or take, because of the 10% addition, which is 50. And then you have actually more damage for your fist by 15%. I have a relic which increases by 20%, by another 5%, but kind of irrelevant. And your Serenity, or if you're running Whirling Dragon Punch, Chi Orbit, it goes to those. So your Storm, Earth, and Fire. But increases by 5%, pretty good. And then no matter which path you go, you're always going to get to Inner Peace and Tornado Kicks at the same time. Baseline, it doesn't really matter which you go. The only good traits you really want are going to be good Karma, your Dodge Chance, more Fist of Fury damage, Serenity damage, and healing. Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick stacking your Fist of Fury, your Tornado Kicks, Inner Peace, Healing Winds, and Crosswinds. Good Karma is very useful. I typically don't think you need it until you start actually pushing arenas, because, or RBGs I should say, just because it's kind of irrelevant. You're not going to be focused that much as a Windwalker unless you queue into like a Retribution Paladin or a, I don't know, Destro Lock maybe. But it's honestly, it helps. It's not that good, but it helps. And your 5% to everything is completely useless. So, from there, we're going to go into our talents. It's not honestly not as bad as you'd think of talent choice. Compared to my 6.2.3 guide, you had a very like one dimension talent path. Like, yeah, you had to go this talent or you're never gonna get anywhere. For your first tree, it's gonna be Chi Burst, Eye of the Tiger, and Chi Wave. This talent tree is actually pretty balanced. You can use any of the three talents you want. I personally picked Chi Burst because I feel like it does more for you. Has a longer cooldown, yes, but overall I think it actually helps more than Chi Wave is. But Chi Wave is a good filler ability. Some things you can do is use your Crackling Jade Lightning, Chi Wave, Crackling Jade Lightning, which builds up your hit combo stacks. Eye of the Tiger, I personally don't think it's useful. I'm sure you could find places for it, but you're wasting 50 energy just for a minor dodge. I don't think that's really good. For your next tree, you have Chi Torpedo, Tiger's Lust, and Celerity. This is the same tree from what's it called, WAD, and MOP, but I'm going to say the same thing as I did before. Tiger's Lust, then Celerity, then Chi Torpedo. You have the choice between Tiger's less than Chi Torpedo really. I find that Chi Torpedo does have its uses against Mistweavers when you're trying to chain them. So if you want to just run at the Mistweaver all game, you can just use Chi Torpedo, and every time he uses his, you use yours. Every time he uses his, you use yours. Then you have your Serpent Kick, which gets you to the target again when he uses Mistwalk or something. So it's an okay talent. I still think Tiger's Less is substantially better, but I'm sure the other two have their uses. Now for your third tree, you have Energizing Elixir, which is an energy and chi filler for 1 minute, Ascension, which is the exact same as WAD, and Power Strikes, which is somewhat the same as WAD, but it's slightly different. You run Energizing Elixir. There's no question about this. It's so good. Like, it's honestly it's stupid good. You don't even need me to explain it really, but you get full chi, you get full energy back. So yeah, it's really strong for situations where you're energy starved or you need that last bit of chi to get to get your next ability out, right? Ascension's pretty decent. I'm sure you could run this in some situations where you just need to live for a while and you want to just dampen them by doing a lot of damage and having high energy regen if you're stacking haste, for example. I'm pretty sure this is also decent in PvE, but that's irrelevant. And then your next tree is going to be Ring of Peace, Dizzying Kicks, Leg Sweep. Okay, so Leg Sweep, it's baseline. If you don't have it, you're kind of just wasting this talent tree. Though I do find situations where you can run Ring of Peace, like for example, if you're on Blade's Edge, right? You can position yourself like really decently where Ring of Peace knocks the person off the edge really strong. But if it's a melee, you can do the exact same thing with Crackling Jade Lightning, meaning this talent is completely irrelevant to what you're doing the whole arena. And for Dizzying Kicks, it sounds good in, like, it sounds good, reducing your target's movement speed by 70 for 3 seconds every time you blackout kick. But you gotta keep in mind that you're not spamming blackout kick, so the slow not only is bad, excuse me, but you also already have Disable, which is a very low energy cost for a 50% snare that auto refreshes every time you hit him. So Leg Sweep is baseline. I don't think you should use the other two ever. And then onto your 75 tree, Healing Elixirs, Diffuse Magic, Dampen Harm. I'm not even going to explain this tree. Healing Elixirs gives you 2 Healing Elixirs at the same time. You have a 30-second recharge. You can use these whenever. They heal you for 15%. If you fall below 35% health, 1 auto procs every single time. And then you have Diffuse Magic. Usually I would say Diffuse Magic is really good, but not only did they increase the cooldown from 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, but they made it a 60% magic reduction. Not a 90%, a 60%. So you are wasting having a really, really, really strong heal that you can use whenever you want for a not so good cooldown. And then Dampen Harm, I'm sure you could use this in some situations, but like anything like a Turbo Cleave or a Ret DK team, they're just going to chunk through that, and then they're still going to do damage on top of it. So it's kind of useless. So Healing Elixirs, I believe, is going to be baseline no matter what, unless they drastically change Diffuse Magic. For your 90 tree, you have Russian Jade Wind, Zuen, and Hit Combo. Russian Jade Wind, it's garbage. Let's be realistic here. It doesn't even do anything for you, really. I'm sure you could find situations for it, but no, I don't think it's good. Right now, I run Hit Combo because every ability that you use, so like I hit Tiger's Palm, right? That's gonna give me 1 stack of Hit Combo, which gives me 2% damage. Then I Rising Sun Kick, another stack. Tiger's Palm, another stack. Blackout Kick, another stack. Tiger's Palm, another stack. Blackout's Kick, another stack. So you can consecutively keep up 8 stacks of Hit Combo rather, just by not using the same ability 2 times in a row, which gives you pretty much baseline 16% more damage, which is very, very, very strong. It honestly, with how much nerfing Blizzard's done to Windwalker right now, the 16% helps a lot. I know that in 7.1.5, Zuen is getting, believe 8 times more damage so it's going to be doing 90k damage every second to a target, and does this, I believe it's 3 times or something. I don't know how Zuen works, I haven't used him since Mob, but you can use Zuen, I think, but he's only going to do like 3 or 4% of your overall damage for a 3-minute cooldown. That's not really that worth it. 7.1.5, this might be useful because of the damage. You could try and go for some crazy one-shots, but I don't know. Hit combo edge, I think, is just baseline for this patch and next. Now for your final tree in just your normal talents is going to be Chi Orbit, Whirling Dragon Punch, Serenity. Right now, Serenity is really, really, really strong. 45% damage if you have the trait, otherwise it's 40%. Replaces Storm, Earth, and Fire, which honestly, like right now, they're not that good because you have 2 charges of it on a 1.5-minute cooldown. So, I don't know. Serenity just increases damage, healing, and all chi consumers are free. Everything that's offensive ability is reduced by 50% on their cooldowns. It's just generally a really strong cooldown for bursting and healing if you really need to go there. Whirling Dragon Punch. I personally like this talent. When I came into Legion, I was like, yo, this ability is going to be the best thing ever. I'm going to use this. Found out it's complete garbage. Um, you don't have the uptime you think to use this as effectively as you might want. Not only do you have to have Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick on cooldown, but you need to be positioned really well for it to do what you want. So it's not the best, but it could be better. Maybe next patch, not too sure. And then for your final talent on this tree, it's going to be Chi Orbit, which is just a passive. Every 5 seconds, you get an orb that surrounds you, and it does damage when it impacts somebody. 4 orbs is the maximum. I don't know. This talent, I'm sure it could actually be pretty damn useful. I mean, 70k damage every 20 seconds. I mean, it's not that bad if you position right, but I don't know. I don't like it. It looks cool. I mean, I will admit, this kind of thing looks cool, but I just don't think it's useful. So Serenity is going to be your baseline. And then now for your honor talents. First tree, the only time you should ever not run Gladiator's Medallion is if you're Alliance. As a human, I should say. If you're not human, I don't think you should ever not run Gladiator's Medallion. I know orcs can run Relentless because 40% reduction is ridiculous. But humans can run Adaptation because they already have a trinket. Why not just use this baseline 1-minute cooldown one, right? And then they could also run Relentless if they wanted to. Then your next tree is going to be Hardiness, which is pretty bad. I mean, like, you have to be above 80% health for you to take less damage, which makes no sense. And then you have Sparring, which isn't as bad as you'd think. You have a 20% chance for a melee attack to do 50% less damage. So you're relying on RNG for this talent, but in reality, this affects all melee attacks from any ability as well. So let's say like 600k, I don't know, Obliterate, for example, from a DK, could then become 300k if it procs, which is actually a really big reduction, which, I don't know, you would use this mostly against melee cleaves, but at the same time it kind of depends on the comp because you might not get it that much. And then you have Reinforced Armor, baseline 10% more health, pretty good. For your next tree, you have Fast Feed, which is reducing the duration of snares by 20%. You move 50% faster for 3 seconds every time you've been attacked. Then you have Eminence, which just reduces Transcendence transfer by 5 seconds. So it's pretty good, especially with your Healing Winds on your artifact tree. You get from 25 second to 20 second, and you get 20% heal every 20 seconds. Pretty strong. And then Yu'lon's Gift, use Flying Serpent Kick, will dispel all snares affecting you when used. Yu'lon's Gift, pretty useless right now. They nerfed it in 7.1, so don't use it. And then these two are actually, like, they're actually pretty equal, right? Eminence you would mostly use against a double caster team, for example. I know you can use it against any comp you want, but I personally prefer using Fast Feed against, like, any sort of melee cleave, or any sort of melee, rather. It's baseline 15% faster, so I can kite away from them, right? Like I can just hop around and just stay just barely out of that melee range so they cannot hurt me. Which makes it easier for me to live, harder for them to. Besides, it also reduces snare duration, which makes warriors completely hard countered by this because they already have hamstring on a global with everything else. So if you're reducing that snare, they have to apply it more often. So it's your opinion. I personally think fast feet's stronger. Eminence is useful in every situation, though. Your call. Your next tree, Control the Mists. You get an instant cast a fuse every 20 seconds. Every chi you spend reduces by 1 second. And then you have Fort Brew, which is the exact same as Wad, your wall. And then you have Zen Moment. Okay, like real talk, your Fort Brew. Like I don't need to go into explanation of why Zen Moment's bad or Control the Mist is bad. First of all, Control the Mist, when you use this, it doesn't even give you like some sort of indication that it's up. You actually have to look at your bars to know. You have to look at your debuff slot to know. Like it's really bad. Zen Moment though, I will admit, I'm sure you could find a use for this, but it's very kitey way, right? You gotta use it and run, but you have to make sure that you do not do any damage while you use it because it reduces the effect by 5% every time you do use an ability. And it only has a 20% incoming healing increase and 20% damage taken reduction. So 4 abilities, and this is a completely wasted talent. Not only do you have to already build up 5 chi, it's already horrible. I do think it's useful in some situations though. Maybe against like a double lock team, I don't know. And then you have 4 Brew, just his same as Wad, more health, reducing damage. Pretty good. I'd take this 100% of the time. For second last tree of Tiger Style, the Agile, oh, I can't speak. The Agile Essence of Zen infuses your Flying Serpent Kick, allowing you to control the winds during flight. So what this means is when you have this talent, you get to literally, when you're using Flying Serpent Kick, you get to control where you want to fly to until it ends. I don't know. I don't. It's a cool idea, right? It's a cool concept. Not that good in PvP. Then you have Disabling the Reach. Your Disable now has a 12-yard range. Don't know in what world you wouldn't use this. You have a 12-yard range route. That is, I think, the only route in the game next to DK's Chains of Ice where you can cast it from a range. Then you have Ride the Wind, which every time you use Flying Serpent Kick, it kind of leaves like this little misty path behind you, which allows anyone in it to be immune to movement slowing effects and have 30% increased speed. Not that bad. When you think about it, it's not that bad. It's very position based, but you could use this in terms of like comps where there's constant slowing. So like maybe a assassination rogue where they have endless slows, or a survival hunter where they throw those mines down and it gives you a 70% slow and you can't break it unless you're a paladin with freedom. This could be useful in those situations, but I still think that 12-yard range route is really good. Then for your final tree of heavy-handed strikes, it's Fist of Fury stun, increases range by 5 yards, really strong. Grapple weapon, minute cooldown, disarms the target for 6 seconds, and then you have Spinning Fire Blossom with 50 energy, generates 1 chi. It's basically a jab from a range. I mean, you use Fist stun by default, but these two could be useful in some situations, though I think you're kind of reducing what you're doing overall by not running Fist stun. Spinning Fire Blossom, I've used sometimes. It's a fun troll ability too. Like you just want to screw around with somebody in low rating, you can just run this and just keep them away from you because it does. First of all, the snare it does, or sorry, not the snare, I should say, the route it does when you cast it over from melee range does not DR with your disable route. So you could triple disable route somebody, and then you could just spam Spinning Fire Blossom as long as you have the energy for it. They will never touch you. So baseline, they're all good, but you're kind of limiting yourself if you don't run Fist Stun. It's kind of baseline right now. So yeah. So now let's get on with the damage and CC tips. Alright, so now that we're back with the damage and CC tips, okay, so as a monk for your damage, you're very rotation based. I don't want to say Windwalkers have a skill cap because right now they don't. The best Windwalkers counterplay, like Chun-Li and myself, we counterplay each other really well when we queue into each other. It's very fun personally, but the difference between a rank 1 Windwalker right now, and a rival Windwalker is very, very, very minimal. So your rotation is pretty much just don't use the same ability 2 times in a row. So you just kind of want to keep pressing abilities that aren't the same, right? I am dying to this dummy. I just thought I'd point that out. So you just want to keep hitting abilities by not doing the same one twice in a row, right? It doesn't matter what ability you hit in a row, but as long as it's not a damaging ability in a row, you're not going to do bad. Like, it's going to keep your hit combo stacks up. You're going to continually do more damage, and you're not going to die. Okay, you know what? We're not doing this guy. We're going to find a different one. Let's go here. So, what I typically do is, in a game, I will open with Disable, Jab, Rising Sun Kick, Jab, Blackout Kick, Jab, Blackout Kick, Chi Burst, Blackout Kick, Jab, Blackout Kick. This is going to generate a decent amount of stacks. I will have 8 hit combos by this point, and then I can free burst. Your burst rotation is actually pretty simple. What you want to do is paralysis the target. I obviously can't do it on these dummies because Legion. But you want a Death, Serenity, Wind Strike, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, Fist of Fury. This is going to do a crazy amount of damage already. Finish your Black Fist of Fury if you can, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick. By this time your Serenity is going to be down, but you've already done enough damage to put pressure up, or even land the kill. And you might notice that when I use Fist of Fury right now, it's only using 1 chi. It is because I run the legendary Katsuro's Eclipse, which in PvE reduces the cost of my Fist of Fury by 2 seconds. So ignore that. You want a Rising Sun Kick then. Your Rising Sun Kick baseline gives you healing. It gives a Mortal Strike for 25%. Really strong. I know there's better Mortal Strikes in the game, but whatever. And then, so you're going to see this buff that they put up. You're going to put up occasionally with the Jab. It's going to be Mark of the Crane. Increases the damage of your Monk's Spinning Crane Kick by 50%. So when I went to those artifact tree and I said this is a pretty good by increasing Spinning Crane Kick by 10%, I wasn't joking. Your Spinning Crane Kick can do insane damage. It can hit up to 200k just for 3 chi. Now think about that. For 3 chi as a filler ability, it's really strong. And this can stack because you can just get all of these Mark of the Cranes on 3 different targets and then just keep spinning crane kicking them theoretically. So you're already doing, let's just say you're doing 16% increased damage, 50% on your spinning crane kicks, and then you're already getting that 10% from your artifact tree. A lot of damage for 3 chi. So for Windwalkers, your damage, that's pretty much as simple as it gets. You're not really going to use anything else. Yeah, like there's nothing else you can use. Every ability in the game can pretty much, I don't know, proc hit combo and stuff, so you want to be careful. Like, so Jab, like all my abilities right here, 2, 3, 4, and 5, my Touch of Death, Flying Serpent Kick, Chi Burst, Jade Lightning, Spinning Crane Kick, and Strike of the Windlord. All of these abilities do proc hit combo, so you do have to be careful about using 2 of them in a row. That's about as hard as Windwalker gets for damage. Like, your burst is pretty straightforward. Obviously, your burst changes as you go because you want to be as efficient as possible with globals, but I mean, that's about as simple as it gets. Alright, for CC tips. Windwalker doesn't really have much CC. Like, what do we have? We have paralysis and we have a double stun. If we're running both stuns, keep that in mind. Not that good. But our kit with those 3 abilities can provide a lot of CC and all like logic, right? So there are situations where you're gonna see Windwalkers like tier 1 Windwalkers like myself, Balance, Trill TKO, or Chun-Li, Bopsy on EU, Voltairix on EU, all those people. You're gonna see us paralysis a target, right? And that target's gonna be in a CC for 4 seconds. That paralysis lets our partners get up additional CC, which lets us set up damage. When we get that damage going, that CC is required. You will never land a kill without CC unless you're playing Windwalker DK, where you can just obliterate a target in 3 seconds. Like, I don't understand that logic. Blizzard, fix this game. But your paralysis is pretty much a combo setup. If you can't paralysis a target when you want to go for kill, you are never going to land a kill. Unless you're playing Windwalker DK, as I said. So, you want to communicate with your partners, right? You want to tell them, yo, I can parry this target, right? Like, go for something off of it. And then you can, when you do that, and your partners know about it, you can see them running in. So you paralysis the target, and then you allow yourself to stop the DPS from setting up on a counter CC. So what I mean by counter CC is like they could, I don't know, count, like say you're playing against Mage, Warlock, Resto Druid. You paralysis the Druid out of form, and you're playing Mage, Windwalker, Resto Druid. You want to either essentially you want to poly the healer twice after your paralysis because they do share a DR. So you would paralysis the Druid out of form, your Mage would start running for the poly and get it off. But that Mage and Warlock, they can stop your Mage from getting the CC by either polying him, fearing him, kicking him so he can't get the cast off, or just counter pressure, right? So what you want to do at that point is when you throw that paralysis up, you want to try and stop them from stopping your Mage. So in some instances, you will see, like for me example, you will see me, I will paralysis a Druid, I will stun the Warlock. If the Mage can get stunned as well, I will stun him with it. But if he can't, I will run over to the Mage and I will Belf silence him. And that will stop him from stopping my Mage, allowing him to get the poly off. And then he can get a second one off. And then my Druid can go in for the clone, because by that point, when he's going for that clone, we are doing so much damage to that Warlock or that Mage that they are forced to peel us rather than stop the clone. Obviously, stopping the clone would help, but most teams actually do not understand that they need to stop at CC rather than the damage, unless it's going to be essential that the damage is going to kill him at that point. Not an easy call, but you usually just want to stop it. So your paralysis is going to be a gap closer, or it's going to be a setup. What I mean by gap closer is so let's say like I'm snared over here, right? So this is where I'm snared. My port, I'm very slowly walking over to the target. I can't reach him because he's just jumping backwards and backwards and backwards. So what I would do is I would paralysis him and start walking over to him. That gives me enough time to get to him and start doing damage again. This is where my disable route does come in handy with the 12 yards rather. I can snare them once and then root them, and then I can reach them. Typically, how you want to use paralysis though is as a setup or as a gap closer. There are situations where you will find good Windwalkers using paralysis as a peel. What I mean by that is, let's say your partner's at 20% and this mage is about to cast a glacial spike and he's going to kill your partner, right? You're going to want to use paralysis there because let's say you're not close enough to kick him. You're going to paralysis that mage. It stops all damage from coming in at that point until he's out of that paralysis. Gives your healer enough time to heal your mage back to full health. Really essential that you use that properly. Alright, so I probably should mention something. I didn't mention this in the talents, but your heavy-handed strikes, it stuns the first target. Well, I shouldn't say the first target. It stuns on the first tick of fists. So what it means is anyone that gets hit by your fists when you use it, in the first tick there, will get stunned. So what you can do is you can try to stack players, right? Like let's say you have 2 melee, or it's like a caster melee comp, right? The melee is training the target, the caster's hitting him. You can tell your partner, yo, run up to that caster and try to get them to stack. Then you can come along when they're stacked and you can fist them both or you can leg sweep them both. Really easy to stop CC, right? At that point, you got a double stun. Your healer and your mage, or your partner, I should say, I shouldn't always say mage, will be able to go for CC at that point because those two are in a stun. And you can restun them too because you have 2 stuns. Makes it really easy for you to set up kills. Windwalker right now is a spec that is very reliant on their partners. I don't think Windwalkers are very good in a 2v3 situation. So if you have a bad partner, in DPS terms or healer terms. I don't think you can personally get that far, but there are situations where you could, obviously. I think that's honestly all Windwalkers have for CC tips. I mean, the best thing you can do out of that is, so there's, as I said earlier, humans typically run adaptation. I know some horde healers who will run adaptation, so you can bait adaptation, right? Use leg sweep on them. Yeah, it's a 45-second cooldown, but keep in mind, if you get his trinket with, you get his adaptation there with just leg sweep, you have a 15-second kill window when it comes up where he has no trinket and you have double stun. So it's entirely on his DPS to peel for him, but you could use leg sweep there. Leg sweep, do some damage, and then Fist of Fury. It is so essential that you be smart about using your stuns because that's about as simple as, Windwalker gets. If you're not being an idiot with it, then you're going to get far because there's just nothing else to do. Windwalker's just one-shot spec right now. There's no difference between us. You just got to be smarter than the other players. Otherwise, I do think that is all I have to say. Though I will actually give one more tip. So, Windwalkers have Transcendence and Transcendence Port, right? You can use your port as a gap closer. You put port on a pillar. So let's say this is one pillar, right? And the healer is standing right here. You can bait him off the pillar by going at him. And then when he comes around, let's say you're somewhere over here and you're just like, oh, I can't reach him, but you're in range of your port. You can use your port to get back to him. Obviously, I can't right now because I'm on cooldown, but he comes back there, you can just port, kick, or something, and just nuke him. A lot of healers actually don't realize this in the hordes on any side. Like rank 1 healers don't even see this. They can see the port, but they don't react fast enough for you to stop anything. There are so many times when I've queued into people like Sea-Doo or Absturge or just any other rank 1 healers where they stand on my port on a pillar and then they're really low, like let's say 40%, right? I have Serenity or something and they're casting. I port on top of them, instantly lock them out, and then I just nuke them in that lockout because they are stupid enough to stay on that port, and it just lets me get all my damage off. So you gotta be smart. Port is probably your most essential ability with Windwalkers. As long as you're not being really, really, really dumb with it, it can do a lot for you. It can be offensive, it can be defensive, it can just keep you alive and sustain you. A lot of things. Generally, this is your bread and butter. Better than Karma, better than Wall. I think that's all I'm going to have to say though. So, I mean, thanks for watching. I hope you actually learned something from this compared to what people just tell you in chat. I probably will remake this guide in 7.1.5, maybe even in 7.2. We'll see how I'm feeling about it. But yeah, you might be able to expect a RBG video or RBG guide for Windwalkers pretty soon because I've been getting into RBGs lately, had a bit of fun, met quite a few fun people to play with. It's a pretty interesting scenario. So thanks you all for watching, hope you enjoyed, and have a happy New Year's.